Before us lies the Gnawing Coast, a land carved by ancient forces and scarred by generations of conflict. From the towering Dabines in the north to the windswept shores of Peddler's Sound, every corner of this coast has its secrets. Long ago, a technologically gifted race of goblins ruled here with industrial power unmatched and uncontested. They enslaved the other races and built magnificent cities that eventually took to the skies as flying fortresses, but at the height of their power, they vanished, leaving nothing but ruins in their wake. Their strange wisdom and mechanical might echo through the land to this day, a shadow that lingers even in their absence. But their sudden end was only the beginning. Elves, dwarves, and humans each rose to claim this land, with clashes that shaped its very soil. Then came the Rookfall, a draconic invasion that scorched the skies and nearly wiped out human civilization until they forged an unlikely alliance with the dwarves to drive the dragons back. Now, three powerful human kingdoms vie for dominance, while the dwarves thrive beneath the mountains and the elves simmer in resentment, lingering in the sands to the west. Yet the coast is restless. Refugees from the east, ancient rivalries, and whispers of new threats hint at a world still very much alive, waiting to unfold in the stories we'll uncover. If you couldn't already tell, today's video is all about a world-building project of mine set in the Gnawing Coast. Originally created for a D&D campaign, this world has plenty of tabletop RPG elements, but I'll focus more on lore for viewers who simply love good stories. Why is it called the Gnawing Coast? Well, the coastline is riddled with bites, so consistent they appear to gnaw away at the land. Of course, the name also alludes to the restless nature of the region, and to me at least it just sounds wicked cool. Anyways, before I go any further, let's talk more in depth about the history of this fantasy world. Our story begins with the goblins' rise to power. I drew inspiration from two sources, the Dwemer of the Elder Scrolls, and the Laputians from Studio Ghibli's Castle in the Sky. For the uninitiated, the Dwemer were an advanced race of dwarves who built grand constructs and underground cities. They sought godhood, but mysteriously vanished, leaving behind only their mechanical marvels. Similarly, Castle in the Sky features a timeline where humanity develops crude flying machines that eventually become grand, airborne fortress cities like Laputa. I combined these ideas, making goblins the visionaries of my world. Imagine sleek, magical machines of the Dwemer combined with Laputa's soaring citadels, but with a cunning goblin twist. These goblins weren't chaotic tinkerers, but brilliant architects who took to the skies. Their flying fortresses left behind massive craters dotting the coastline as evidence of their ascent. And these goblins also enslaved their neighbors, particularly the elves of the coast. The elves were in bondage for so long that their origins were utterly erased. When the goblins vanished, the elves had no culture to return to, forcing them to adapt and survive in the ruins left behind. As the elves struggled to rebuild, the dwarves migrated south from the frozen north. With their decisive nature and craftsmanship, they established mighty mountain strongholds and vast mining networks. Though they clashed with the elves over resources, the two races eventually maintained an uneasy distance. And then humans showed up, as they always do, and immediately started doing what humans do best, expanding aggressively and getting into fights they weren't invited to. Generations of conflict with the elves eventually drove them westward into the desert, while the dwarves stayed entrenched in their mountains. This fragile stalemate persisted until the Rookfall, a draconic invasion that devastated humankind. Desperate, humanity sought aid from the dwarves, who reluctantly agreed to ally against the dragons, and together they mortally wounded the dragon's leader, a massive black drake, who fled north, presumably to die of its wounds. In the wake of this victory, humans rebuilt and prospered with help from their dwarven allies, forming three kingdoms: Targov in the northeast, Lendl to the west, and Darene to the south. Lendl has recently undergone a political upheaval, as merchant guilds overthrew their king in a coup, establishing the Mercato, a government run by guildmasters and investors. Meanwhile, the elves remain in the seething sands, and the dwarves flourish in their mountain homes. Halflings have arrived as refugees from the east, fleeing an invading force of goblin men, Picture Frodo Baggins on the run from Genghis Khan. Same energy. And from the far west, the Dragonborn, whose world name I'm currently brainstorming, and the amphibious Kawazu, a frog-like race who dwell in the mushy Mori mire. There's also the Kobolds, who've lived in the forests of the coast since the time of the goblins. They're basically the coast raccoons. They get into your trash, break into your basement, and somehow survive on pure chaos. Some call them a nuisance, others call them a lifestyle. Beneath the coast lies the spirit world, a realm that overlaps with the material world, hidden behind a thin veil. On rare occasions, mortals glimpse this realm, forests teeming with spirits, or rivers shimmering with unearthly light. Inspired by Spirited Away and Princess Mononoke, the spirit world is home to diverse entities, some wise and noble, others wild and destructive. Like in Mononoke, powerful spirits can become gods, ruling over nature and its laws. For mortals, the spirit world isn't just myth, it's a force that governs their lives. A respectful offering can bring prosperity, while a careless insult might summon disaster. There's a lot more to unpack there, but I'll save it for another video. So what's next? The rise of the Tord elves in the seething sands? The industrious Dvargen thriving in the snowy depths of the Daybines? Or the human kingdoms locked in uneasy alliances and simmering rivalries? The choice is yours. Head to the community tab and cast your vote. And if you've enjoyed the lore and want to learn more about the drama of flying goblin cities, angry dragons, and dwarves who just want to be left alone, hit that like button and subscribe, or the kobolds might move into your basement. I'll see you all in the next one. Thanks for watching.